financial industry is gaining attention from climate activists, from the climate movement. And this is well on its way in Europe, but in Canada, it's fairly new. We're just coming to terms with the fact now that our banks, the big five, and that's RBC, BMO, TD, Scotia, and CIBC, the big five banks in Canada, are investing or financing the fossil fuel sector over $500 billion. I think it's $640 billion since the Paris Agreement. So about 6 months ago, I started to look into the issue of fossil banks, and I call them fossil banks, but the issue of how banking is affecting climate change. There's a group that puts out an annual report, and the name of the report is Banking on Climate Change, and it has all kinds of interesting information about how our banks, not just the Canadian banks, but banks, the large global banks, have spent $2.7 trillion US. And that's just since the Paris Agreement. And I mean, I always thought that the idea of the Paris Agreement is to bring emissions down, and yet our banks are spending trillions on projects that bring up emissions. And it's the same thing in Canada. So about 6 months ago, I wrote a letter to the president, RBC, and told him that I was leaving RBC and explained why. I got a nice answer with a lot of greenwashing in it. But since then, I've been involved in a group that is working, well, it's got global implications. We have people from the Netherlands in this group. And on the 29th of January will be a national day of action. Fossil banks, no thanks. So we have a group that involves Lead Now, that involves the people from across Canada, people from 350.org. Mostly it'll be an online digital campaign because of COVID restrictions, obviously. So the in-person actions will be quite limited, but XR Quebec will be delivering a letter to about 10 branches of RBC branches in Montreal. And there will be a letter from an Indigenous group and also a letter from XR Quebec, again, highlighting the role that RBC is playing in financing fossil fuels. So it'll be mostly digital, and XR is involved not only in Montreal, but also in Vancouver and in Ottawa. In Vancouver, there will be a banner presentation or a banner lifted in front of a branch that will involve 4 volunteers, again, respecting social distance and masking. But mostly for the rest of Canada, it'll be digital. It'll be some groups involving students. Fridays for Future will have an online rally, and during the rally, we'll be flooding the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, using Twitter handles that the banks have. So yeah, it'll be digital letter campaigns. There's a petition right now that started yesterday from Lead Now, and they're sort of testing the terrain to find out how much interest, how much awareness there is out there amongst the Canadian public about how their bank is using their money. And I'm doing a couple of posts on that too, and asking the people to ask themselves the question, how is my bank using my money? Most people don't think of that, but when you do, and you realize they're using your money to finance fossil fuels, which produces emissions, which is not good for the environment, and which will make it almost impossible to reach our Paris goals. So I think it's an important campaign, an important day of action, and I think 2021 will be a year focused a lot on the role of finance in climate change. Not just banks, but also pension funds, insurance companies. So this is my passion, if you wish, for 2021. The focus is on fossil banks.